Hi, I'm Vegas Coach Alyssa, and today I'm going to be showing you my version of a long scissor cut anime hairstyle. So to start off this haircut, I'm going to start by prepping my mannequin. I did already apply my hair and body moisturizer from Paul Mitchell, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sectioning out his hair in order to start my haircut. When I section out this haircut, I'm going to start out by doing a square section on the top, and I'll be separating out the two side panels as well. Lay my comb nice and flat, working in a straight line all the way to the back. Grip the hair that's from above that comb to bring it up. Comb the rest of the hair down. Coming nice and flat, gripping or the hair above the comb, combing the rest of that hair down all the way to the front. Now that we do have that portion clipped up out of the way, I'm going to make sure that the bottom is nice and damp as well, picking up that hair to make sure that I'm completely saturating the underneath layers. And I'll be separating out the two side panels. So I'm going to start from the back corner of my square section, and I'm going to work right to behind the ear here. So having that comb nice and flat, I'm going to work right to behind the ear there. Everything else I'm going to comb to the back. All of this hair that is considered my side section, I'm going to twist this up out of my way so that way it's just not jumping into my back section. I'll do that on both sides, and then we'll separate the back. For this back section, I'm going to be separating from right behind the ear all the way across, so that way I'm working with just the nape of the neck at this point. So I'm going to be taking it nice and flat all the way across, just separating the nape from the top of the hair. So I'm going to be starting back in the back at 6 o'clock, moving the hair out of my way that I am not working with. I'm going to be taking it straight out and cutting it at a low 45 to create a little bit of a wedging towards the back. So when I'm doing this low 45, I want to preserve about an inch of hair at the bottom to almost 2 inches up at the top of the section there. So it's going to be a slight downwards angle with that 45. Again, an inch at the bottom to about 2 inches up on the top. I am cutting palm to palm, so that means I'm going to be inside of my hand and also standing directly on my clock position that I'll be cutting. I'll be working up using a traveling guide as I move to my next section. We're going to split that section, utilize a traveling guide. I work my way to the side of the ear. You can see my guide there, and I'm just going to follow it. This section is drying up, so I'm going to make sure that I add some more moisture so that way I'm working with even dampness throughout that haircut. Moisture equals control, so we want to make sure that we're keeping that damp as we're working through. We'll split that section in half. Again, continuing with that 45, making sure that I can see my guide in my section there, pulling it directly out from where it lives, working with that palm to palm, cutting uphill. Utilizing our guide from the opposite side, we'll start back in the middle at 6 o'clock, and we'll be doing a traveling guide still, making sure that I can see my section, pulling it out directly from where it lives, working cutting uphill, recombing out my section, making sure I'm not cutting past my second knuckle, making sure I don't miss that piece. So I'll go back, make sure that I grab it. We'll split that section and continue on through this half here. So the next, we're going to be focused on the back crown area. So I'm going to take down the rest of the back working area. And what I want to be doing is I'm creating a little bit of a wedge towards the top. So I am going to be blending up with a 45, keeping it low. So I'm going to start out at 6 o'clock here in the back. I'm going to pull it out from where it lives. I'm going to look for my guide towards the bottom there. Let me readjust. So I'm going to look for my guide from the bottom section there, and I'm going to be holding it to keep a 45. Now, depending on your wrist and your hand positioning, we want to make sure that this is staying pretty flat. So if this is pulling on you at all, you can absolutely switch to cut to palm to palm. So that way we're not putting that pull or that stress or tension on our hand, and we can absolutely come through and cut it this way as well. So it is based off of your personal preference and making sure that we're staying very comfortable in our body positioning. So after I make that cut, I will split that section, and I'm going to utilize a traveling guide to work to my section at the ear. So once I do that, I will split my section at 6 o'clock in half. I will recomb out this section. Again, you can cut over your knuckle if that's more comfortable, coming uphill, or you can cut palm to palm. Just making sure that we're following that guide, pulling it directly out from where it lives on the head. We will split that section and work into our next one. Again, we can cut over the knuckle, or we can cut palm to palm. Making sure we preserve that length. We'll continue it all the way up until the side section. And we can pull it out to check, make sure we have that level, and we'll go on to the second half. Next, we'll be moving on to the side working area here. In order for us to create this side working area, I want to have backwards movement. So what I'll be doing is I'll be doing what's called a lateral shift. So as I take out my sections from behind this ear here, I'm going to utilize a little bit of my guide from the back working area to start my guide on the side. As I'm working towards the face, so I am going to laterally shift it forward. So that way we have some shorter hair in the front, moving that hair towards the back. So for an example, I am pulling it out at this section. So this would be my clock position that I'm at right here by the ear. I'm going to pull it straight out from where it lives. I'm going to look for my guide within that haircut. Instead of me taking it from where it lives, I am going to laterally shift that hair one clock position or one section in front of the section that it's currently at. So instead of me being right here when I pull it out to cut it, I'm going to shift it so I'm right here when I'm cutting that section. So instead of it being on this first section, we're shifting to that second section and cutting it there. This will give us shorter hairs again, so that way it will have that backwards movement. So I'm going to shift it forward, make sure I can see my guide within my hair, and as long as I do, I can cut on up. Split that section, working back. Making sure that we're taking nice clean sections. Again, I'm not going to take it right from where it lives. I'm going to shift that forward. Seeing my guide, and I'll follow it. Split that section, taking my next section. Again, we're going to shift that forward. My very last section, making sure I shift that forward. So I'm still getting that backwards movement. And then I'll cross-check it by taking it out. And if we see the line, as you can tell, it has that diagonal back. I see one piece that was missed. It looks like right here. So I'm going to go right back into that section. And I'm going to shift it forward, making sure that I didn't miss anything. Pulling it out, shifting it forward. Nothing there. Pull it out, shift it forward. Looks like right there it is. After finishing the sides and the back, I'm going to take down my top working area and create a front working area section where I'm going to take it down and create a guide. I want his guide or his length to be below his nose tip just naturally when it falls. So for me to do that, I'm going to take his hair with little to no tension, okay? I'm going to come through with a point cut and I'm going to leave it right below his nose here. Nice thing about point cutting is we want to make sure that we're cutting on the way out, not on the way in. It's out, not ouch. Get a better angle right here for you. Again, just point cutting, getting that length off. Just kind of more straight across here. Once we have completed that, we're going to brush it back and use that as a guide for our mohawk to blend. So I'm going to start out with the mohawk strip down the middle, no bigger than the width of my comb. I'm going to look for my two guides. I got my guide in the back where I did my 45, and then I got my guide from the front, and I'm going to be blending the two. As we can see, it is a slight angle. If I were to point my fingertips to go to that so it can blend, it's going to come down just slightly. So I can either blend from the back to the front or from the front to the back. It's dealer's choice. I personally like to point with my fingertips where I'm trying to go. So I'm going to work from front to back, utilizing the back of my front section guide, pointing to where I want to go with my fingertips, and then I'm going to make sure that I take that hair. As we can see, as we're getting to that back, that hair is almost going to match up as we bring it up to the top here. And we're just going to cut till we run out of hair. I do not want to take the corner off in the back. We are leaving that in order to preserve the weight towards the back of the head. So just to give you a good visual, I'm going to comb it back up. As you can see, there is a nice angle right there in the back. That's because of the fact that we did our 45 to create that weight towards the bottom, right? So that's why that's there. And then we cut it nice and flat across the top. This is going to create our little corner. We don't want to take that corner off. Once we have our mohawk strip, then we're going to be utilizing our pivot point or pie sectioning to blend. So I'm going to split him down the middle. Start in the back of his hair at 6 o'clock. And just making sure that everything is blended nice and smooth by bringing it up to the ceiling so we're not taking off that corner. Work my way around the head in those pie sectioning. Bringing it all the way up to the ceiling and then just cutting flat. And we're going to do the same all the way around on the opposite side here. So now that we got the haircut finished, we're actually going to go through and do our detail work now. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through with my thinning shears or texturizing shears, and I'm going to go through and actually point cut into the sideburn area to create a piecing effect, to give it a more softer, kind of piecier look. So again, I'm going to comb this part down for the sideburn area. I'm going to come in with the corner of my texturizing shears, and I'm going to point cut on the way out with my texturizing shears. This is going to help to soften up the sideburn area. It's not going to take it all away, but it's going to give it some of that piecing effect. And I could do this around the ears too, being cautious that we're resting the back of that blade against the skin so that way we don't accidentally nick him or cut him accidentally on the ear. I'm just going to go through and just texturize until I like how it's piecing. So you can play around with it a little bit and see how it's laying. And I'm going to do this to both sides here. Yeah. And then I'm going to do the same thing around the nape. Again, I want it nice and piecey, so I'm going to go through with a point cut texture at the very nape of the neck. I want it to have more of a jagged kind of look to it, a little bit more disheveled. And then around this neck here, it can tend to get really bulky behind the ear. So same thing, you can go in with your texturizers and really just kind of piece it. So that way we get more of this wispy action in the back. And same thing on the opposite. So this style is going to be a representation of more of an anime kind of style. So it is very piecey. It's not necessarily connected or blended 100%. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to use the curl cream to style his hair. Please note that his hair has no curl whatsoever in it. But what this is it's got a little bit of moisture and a little bit of control. So that way I'm able to hydrate his hair, keep it soft, but also provide a little bit of body and shine to it. So I'm going to take my curling cream and I'm going to use my brush to blow dry it in. So that way I get a little bit of texture and curl towards the ends of his hair. To finish off this style, I'm going to use a little bit of the Maverick or Paul Mitchell dry paste. And then just take a little bit in my hands and I'm going to utilize this to kind of piece it out and give it a little bit more of those wispies and textures. Just kind of put it through my fingertips themselves versus the whole hand. And I'm going to work through the edges, just kind of fine tuning anything that I feel like needs a little bit more texture or maybe possibly a little bit more hold too. You can see this style does give him the versatility of wearing it towards his face, or he can wear it back because he does have a little bit of weight to help hold it back for him. So we make our way to the back. You can pull these pieces out to kind of give him a little bit more edge or style based off of the style that he is going for. And this is going to be my completed look. I hope you guys liked it.